Good day everyone, and today we will be tackle about the cost of productions. We begin our discussion about cost, and in the module there is a scenario about Caroline's cookie factory, and Caroline is the owner of that firm and she buys flour, sugar, chocolate chips, and other cookies ingredients. She also buys the mixers and ovens and hires workers to run this equipment. She then sells the cookies to consumers by examining some of the issues that Caroline faces in her business. So we can learn some lessons about cost that apply to all firms in an economy. So in the statement of Caroline Cookie Factory, can you determine what are the costs? So before we will answer that, let's first define what is total revenue, total cost, and profit. Total revenue is the amount of a firm receives for the sale of its output. So in the statement of Caroline Cookie Factory, the amount of a firm receives for the sale of its output, which is the cookie is the output, and the total sale of the cookies are what we call total revenue. Total cost is the market value of the input a firm uses and productions, or in other words, total cost is what we call all the expenses. So in Caroline Cookie Factory, she buys flour, sugar, and she pays salary for the workers, and even the equipments like ovens and so forth is what we call total cost. Profit, total revenue minus total cost. So in a Caroline Cookie Factory, the total revenue minus the total cost is what we call profit. Its objectives is to make her firms profitable as large as possible. So to see how a firm goes about maximizing profit, we must consider fully how to measure its revenue and its total cost. So how can we get the total revenue? So it's very easy, right? It's just the quantity of output the firm produces multiplied by the price at which it sells and its an output. So for example, Caroline produces 10,000 cookies and she sells them at $2 per cookie. So her total revenue is $20,000. Let's proceed about the cost as opportunity cost. Did you remember what is opportunity cost? It is really important to keep in mind that one of the 10 principles of economics chapter 1 is that the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Recall that the opportunity cost of an item refers to all the things that must be foregone to acquire that item. So where you can determine the opportunity cost of Caroline's issues. So for example, Caroline pays $100,000 for flour, and that $100,000 is an opportunity cost. You know why? It is because Caroline can no longer use that $100,000 to buy something else. Similarly, when Caroline hires workers to make the cookies, the wages she pays are part of the firm's cost because these opportunity costs are required the firms to pay out some money. So these are what we call explicit cost. Explicit cost is the input cost that require an outlay of money by the firm. So for example of these are costs involving monetary payment like employee wages, utilities, equipments, and even bartered goods and services are considered explicit cost because they have a specific monetary worth. Implicit cost is the input cost that do not require an outlay of money by firm. So for example, imagine that Caroline is skilled in a computer, but she will decide if she will start a business. She might make a decision about her income if she gives up the chance to earn a salary at another firm, choosing instead to work for her own company. The salary she gives up is a cost. For instance, just imagine a machine and a factory breaks down and needs. The actual cost of the repair is an explicit cost, but the revenue loss during the machine's downtime is an implicit cost. It is the cost associated with lost production time by not using the machine during company gives up some of its ability to produce. Total economic cost is the sum of explicit and implicit cost. So let's go on about the cost of capital as an opportunity cost. So how economists and accountant analyze a business. So to further explore the difference between the methods of economist and accountant, just imagine that Caroline has 300,000 savings and borrow her own savings at $200,000 from a bank at an interest of 5% and the $100,000 left in her savings account. So Caroline's accountant, who only measures explicit cost, will now count the $10,000 interest paid on the bank every year as a cost because this amount of money now flows out of the firms. So by contrast, according to an economist, the opportunity cost of owning the business is still $15,000 because the opportunity cost equals the interest of the bank. Just remember, an explicit cost of $10,000 plus the foregone interest on savings, an implicit cost of $5,000. Let's proceed about economic profit versus accounting profit. Now let's return to the firm's objectives, which is the profit. Because the economist and accountant measures cost differently, they also measures the profit differently. So in economics profit, they only measures a firm's economic profit as the firm's total revenue minus all the opportunity cost, which is the explicit and implicit of producing the goods and services sold, while the accountant measures the firm's accounting profit as the firm's total revenue minus only the firm's explicit cost. Besides, accounting profit is often larger than economic profit due to accounting ignoring implicit cost. So the economic profit is crucial as it motivates firms to supply goods and services, and the positive economic profit keeps business in business, covering opportunity cost and providing revenue for owners, and the negative is the economic profit leads to closure or industry exits.
Good day everyone, I'm going to tackle about production function. So, what is production function? A production function describes the relationship between inputs like labor and capital and the output of goods or services in an economical firm. It illustrates how various factors contribute to the production process. So, the table here that represents the production function and the cost of total of Caroline's cookies factory. So, as you can see, when there is no workers hired, there is no output produced. When there is one worker hired, it produces 50 cookies per hour. When there is two workers hired, it produces 90 cookies per hour. And when there is 3 workers hired, it produces 120 cookies per hour. So, when workers goes from 2 to 2 and 3, so the marginal product of 3 is 30. So because it represents the change in output as the number of workers increases from one level to another. So when we notice that as the number of workers increases, the marginal product declines, so pababa. The second worker has marginal product of 40 cookies. The third worker has marginal product of 30 cookies, and the fourth worker has the marginal product of 20 cookies. So this property called is called diminishing marginal product. So at first, when only a few workers are hired, they have easy access to Caroline's kitchen equipment. As the number of workers increases, as additional workers have to share equipment and work more crowded conditions. Eventually, the kitchen becomes overcrowded. That workers often get in each other's way. Hence, more workers are hired. Each additional worker contributes fewer additional cookies to total production. So, now let's proceed to the graph. So, I have here the table A, the production function. So, as we notice, when the workers hired increases, the production of the quantity of product produced goes flatter, because like what I have explained earlier, when there are many workers, the production becomes slower, because they tend to share equipment with one another. So here next is the table B, the total cost curve. So as we can see, when the quantity of output or the cookies produced per hour increases, the total cost becomes it rises. So that's it, and that's it. That is my topic was all about. Thank you, and good day everyone.
Good evening, everyone. So my topic is all about from the production function to the total cost curve. Table 1 displays Caroline's cost of producing cookies with a factory cost of $30 per hour and a worker cost of $10 per hour. So the table demonstrates how the number of workers is related to the quantity of cookies produced and total cost. The focus of subsequent chapter is on production and pricing decision. Panel B, figure 2, the quantity produced on the horizontal axis and vertical axis is called total cost curve. The total cost curve and production function shows opposite slopes as production increases. High cookies production in Caroline's kitchen results in a crowded kitchen, causing each additional worker to add less to the production function. However, large cookie production requires more labor, resulting in a step total cost curve. More output is produced due to the diminishing returns.
So, good day everyone. So, we will tackle the topic of various measures of cost. So, what various of cost? The total cost, fixed cost, and variable cost each reflect different aspects of cost of production over the entire quantity of output being produced. These costs are measured in dollars. In contrast, marginal cost, average cost, and average variable cost are cost per unit. So first, fixed costs. These are costs that do not change with the level of output. They are incurred even if the business is not producing anything. So example, include rent, salaries, and insurance. So second, variable costs. These costs change with the level of output. They increase as production increases and decreases as the productions of decreases. So example, include raw materials, direct labor costs, and utilities like electricity and water use in the production's process. So the third one is the direct cost. They are costs that can be directly attributed to the productions of a specific product or service. They include costs like direct labor and direct materials. So the fourth is indirect costs. These are costs that cannot be directly linked in the productions of a specific producer of service. They are often referred to as overhead costs and include things like administrative expenses and depreciations. So the fifth is opportunity cost. This is the cost of the next best alternative. This is given when a decision is made. It's not always a monetary cost. It's called also be time or any other resource that has alternative uses. The seventh is marginal cost. This is the cost of producing one additional unit of a product. It used to determine the optimal level of productions. And the last one is the total cost. This is the sum of all the costs incurred by a business, including both fixed and variable costs. So, in general, understanding the different measures of cost is essential for any business. These costs, including fixed, variable, direct, indirect, opportunity, sunk, marginal, and total cost, each provide unique insights, efficiency of a business. By effectively managing and reducing these costs, a business can increase profitability, make better decisions, and achieve its financial goals. Remember, the key is not just to focus on one type of cost, but consider of them is your decision-making process. So thank you everyone.
Hello everyone, I am the next reporter and my topic is all about the facts and the average cost. So in the previous discussions of Miss Abreu, I think there is an example there about the Conrad's coffee production. But my task is to discuss to you the Conrad total cost, and it can be divided into two types, and that is a fixed and average cost. So first and foremost, my task is to discuss the fixed cost. So when we say fixed cost, it is a do not change in the short run, and also do not vary if how much output you produce. So in the example or in the module in Conrad's coffee production, we have to identify the fixed cost. So the example of fixed cost there is the rent he pays, and the rent he pays because this cost is the same regardless how much the coffee he produced. Similarity if Conrad's hire a bookkeeper to pay bills regardless to the quantity of coffee they produce. And also, the salary of bookkeeper is considered as fixed cost because it cannot change from time to time. And although there's a possibility that the salary of bookkeeper will increase, but it takes time compared to the variable cost. So let's proceed to the variable cost. So variable cost can be changed as the firm alters the quantity of output produced. So, example of variable costs are the ingredients of Conrad's coffee production. The first example is the coffee bean. So, the first example of variable costs are the coffee beans, sugar, milk, paper cup, and anything ingredients that used in making coffee considered as variable cost because the prices of those ingredients can be changed from time to time. As the number of coffee made, or as the number of coffee increases, the amount of ingredients also increases. So the more ingredients that Conrad buy, the more output they produce. So why we need that's why they called it as a variable cost, because as the price increases, the cost also increases. So cost can be vary with the quantity of output produced. So the next topic will be the average. So in the previous discussion, or the previous video, I think there was a table there, and it is already given the amount of the total cost, the fixed cost, and the variable cost. So what I'm going to do is to discuss on how we are going to get the average total cost, the average fixed cost, the average variable cost, and the marginal cost. So first is the average total cost. When we are going to get the average total cost, it is a simpler calculations among the four, because we just need to divide the total cost to the quantity of output, same as the average fixed cost. Fixed cost divide to the quantity of output. Then the average fixed cost also, it is a total fixed cost factor, total fixed cost of factor of production, such as the machinery, equipment, and etc. Then next is the average variable cost. So in getting the average variable cost, it is we just have to divide the variable cost into the quantity of output, same as the average total cost, average fixed cost, and the same as there. Then the last one is the marginal cost. So marginal cost, it is an increase of total cost that arises from an extra of production. So it means marginal cost, it is the additional cost occurred in producing one more unit of goods. So we just need to calculate of how much is the additional cost of production. So the next reporter will be.
So good day everyone, my topic for today is all about the average and marginal cost. So Conrad, the owner of his firm, must decide on production levels to determine the impact on his firm's cost. He should consult his production supervisor. So there are two questions. How much does it cost to make the typical cup of coffee? Or how does it cost to increase production of coffee by 1 cup? So the average total cost equals total cost divided by the quantity of output. Average fixed cost is the fixed cost divided by the quantity of output. Average variable cost is the variable cost divided by the quantity of output. Marginal cost increase in total cost that arise from an extra of production. So now I'm going to try, or I will give an example on how to compute the average total cost. So total cost divided to the quantity. So first example is all about by producing haircuts. So by producing haircuts, the total cost of producing 40 haircuts is $320. So $320 is the total cost divided into the quantity, which is the 40 haircuts. So we are going to divide the 320, which is the total cost, to the quantity. So 320 divided 40 is $8, or $8 per haircut. The second example is about the marginal cost. Marginal cost is the change of total cost divide the change of quantity. So my example is if a company spent $20 on producing 2 units, so the change and total cost is $20, and then the change of quantity is 2 units. So we are going to divide $20 to 2 units. So the total cost per unit is $10.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jessica M. Abreu, and I am the next reporter. So my topic is all about cost curves and their shapes. Figure 4, Conrad's average cost and a marginal cost curve. So the costs are 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, 1, 1.25, 1.50, 1.75, 2, 2.50, 2.25, 2.75, 3, 3.25, and $3.50. The figure shows the average total cost, average fixed cost, average variable cost, and marginal cost for Conrad's coffee shop. All of these curves are obtained by graphing the data in Table 2. These cost curves show the features that are typically of many firms. Marginal cost rises with the quantity of output. The average total cost curve is U-shaped. The marginal cost curve crosses the average total cost curve at the minimum of average total cost. So the quantity of output cups of coffee per hour is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So next figure is figure 5. Cost curve for a typical firm's cost. So 0.50, 1, 1.50, 2, 2.53, and 3. So many firms experience increasing marginal product before diminishing marginal product. As a result, they have cost curves shaped like those in this figure. Notice that marginal cost and average variable cost fall for a while before starting to rise. So the quantity of output is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14.
Good morning, everyone. I am the next reporter. So my topic in the chapter 13 is all about the relationship between the short run and long run average total cost. So when we say long run, there are no fixed factors in the long run. And in the other hand, there are both fixed and variable factors in the short run. In the long run, the general price level, contractual wages, and expectations adjust fully to the state of the company. Because many decisions are fixed in the short run but variable in the long run, a firm's long-run cost curves differ from its short-run cost curves. In the figure 6 shows an example. The figure presents 3 short-run average total cost curves for a small, medium, and large factory. It also presents the long-run average total cost curve. As the firm moves along the long-run curve, it is adjusting the size of the factory to the quantity of production. This graph shows how short-run and long-run costs are related. The long-run average total cost curve has a much flatter U-shape than the short-run average total cost curve. In addition, all the short-run curves lie on or above the long-run curve. These properties arise because firms have a greater flexibility in the long run curve. Since in the long run, the firm gets to choose which short run curve it wants to use. But in the short run, it has used whatever short run curve it has, based on the decision it has made in the past.
Good day, everyone. I am Mariela Quitos, the next reporter. So, in the previous topic of the Miss Carabel, she discussed about the relationship between short-run and long-run average total cost. And now, we will discuss the economies and these economies of scale, which is related to the previous report of Miss Carabel. So, what is economies of scale? Economies of scale is the property whereby long-run average total cost falls the quantity of output increases, while these economies of scale, the property whereby long-run average total cost rises as the quantity of output increases. Constant returns to scale, the property whereby long-run average total cost stays the same as the quantity of output changes. So when long-run average total cost declines as output increases, there are said to be economies of scale. When long-run average total cost rises as output increases, there are said to be these economies of scale. When long-run average total cost does not vary with the levels of output, there are said to be constant returns to scale. So earlier, Ms. Gerpel given to you an example about in the figure 6. So as we can see in figure 6, Ford has economies of scale at low levels of output, constant returns to scale at intermediate levels of output, and these economies of scale at high levels of output. So, what might cause economies or these economies of scale? Economies of scale often arise because higher production levels allow specialization among workers, which permits each worker to become better at a specific task. For instance, if Ford hires a large number of workers and produces a large number of cars, it can reduce cost using modern assembly line production. These economies of scale can arise because of coordination problems that are inherent in any large organization. The more cars Ford can produce, the more stretched the management team becomes, and the less effective the managers become at keeping costs down.
The saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none," means that someone who tries to do everything may not excel in a particular task. In a workplace, when we assign workers on a specific job or a particular job that they already master, can often lead to better productivity. So it can be seen in Adam Smith Pin Factory, where it shows specialization, where workers focus on a specific job that can lead to higher output and lower cost. So nga nung makalead man ang specialization sa higher output and lower cost is just due to the increased expertise and efficiency. When individuals or workers specialize in the task, they become more efficient and skilled at that particular task. So which means that less time and less money is involved in producing goods. So we can see that specialization really can save up time and money because individuals or companies can really focus on what they do best. It can really save time because they are not constantly changing or switching tasks. So, for example, I think of factory, each workers specialize in a specific job or the production process. So one person can be really good in assembling components in the production process, and one might excel in quality control. If each worker focuses on their specialized task, they can work faster and produce higher quality output, and this division of labor can lead to overall cost reduction and quicker production time. So this is what Adam Smith is trying to say, trying to emphasize to us. So that's all.
The tears across my face, and I don't know if it's helping, but I don't think I can help it, 'cause there's a million things